You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 35 for March 18th, 2018. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John, how's it going?
It's going well again.
Again. It's been a while. It's been like a month since we podcasted.
Yeah.
And we kept shifting it up and anomalies kept happening. So
Yeah, so the last time we tried to record, I had a little bit of an accident in my house. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't have an accident. My house had an accident. So,
it installed a swamp.
Yeah, it automatically spawned a swamp in my hallway.
Yeah.
So there's a pantry and also the place where the hot water for the heating comes in. I live in an apartment complex and we share heating. And the water that comes in is old water, it's dead water, and that's what it smelled like. So that was fun. So there was lots and lots of water in my hallway that came through from the pantry. The pantry luckily has stone floor, so it was not
Right,
that bad.
right.
Luckily, there's nobody that lives below me except for some cars, so that was good.
Did you check what was underneath that to see if it dripped through or anything?
I checked and there was no water there. It's also
okay.
it was freezing outside, so I didn't know back then.
Yeah,
so.
got ya. Mm-hmm.
But the hallway is wood, so there was lots and lots of water under the wood.
Oh,
No,
that's not good.
That's not good. No, this happened at like 4:20 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, you showed me the video where I heard you like
Oh,
all
no.
of a sudden I heard subtle noise, then I heard a louder noise, and then I heard you cursing or something from your bedroom.
Yep.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, it was
See.
not fun. No.
Yeah.
But I raced to the store and bought some moisture stuff, so to get the moisture out of the air. And I bought a heater because there was no heat in the apartment. It was minus 4 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
Well,
But,
it'd be yeah. It's fine. We could ask Google if we really cared.
Yeah. So it's 24 degrees. So that was fun. Yeah. So that's why we didn't record a podcast last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because
So,
last week was just me catching up on everything else that broke that weekend.
yeah. So a lot has occurred in between then and now. Were the Falcon 9s, I think the last time we podcasted, the Falcon Heavies went up, came down, and we kind of talked about
it was going to.
Or was going to,
Yeah.
and then it actually did happen.
Yeah, and then we were going to talk about it that week.
Right, and then it just sort of nothing, other things happened. And then I don't remember because it's now, it's such a block of time. Did we talk about that I got the game, you got crabs? I think we were talking about it, and then it literally showed up that later that day or the next day.
That's even one of the things that happened in between.
Right.
Like, we were going to talk about it last time, and then
It just didn't.
it didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget, I want to give a shout out to Steve. Hi, Steve. Forgot to do that last time. So, yeah. So anyhow, yeah.
I forgot to edit that in.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I also got the Google Max, so I just decided that I bought it because I was having a problem with my neighbor and the Bluetooth speakers that I had attached to the Echo. And the problem with the speakers is they were low wattage, which is exactly what I was going for to reduce my power bill. And I wanted the Echo Dot, right? Not the normal like tall Echo that has a better speaker and everything in it. The Echo Dot, I had connected it up to these, low wattage, low power speakers. The problem is they had unsecure Bluetooth, so anybody could connect to it. And my neighbor, given these are townhouses, was close enough to be able to one of the kids can connect to it and screw with it. And so they've been doing that on and off. And so, no, it wasn't the echo and the laughing thing. We never had that happen around here. And my roommate, for most of the day, like during wintertime, because he has like a secondary job, he usually fills his day, but it's like at a nursery or like an arboretum. And he's been home predominantly, and he's never reported anything like that. So So that's at least my assessment of knowing that I've never received that problem. But regardless of that point, anyone could screw with it. So I was like, well, I was gonna, put a better. And Sonos are still pretty expensive. And then once you buy one speaker, you got to have 100 of them everywhere, right? So I just didn't want to start that problem, and I wanted some, Google in the house attached to a speaker, but I also wanted to put the more quality speaker and attach the two things together. So I have my Echo Dot wired up through the Google Max, and I have both of them together now in the living room. So I bought the thing, and it's.
So were they able to order something or something? Did they you have multiple of those assistants at home, right?
Right, but the problem that I was informing there was that the external speakers I connected that living room dot to had Bluetooth that they could attack.
Yeah, so
right, not the Echo Dot's
Did
Bluetooth.
they start shouting Did they start playing sounds like, "Hey, order some something"? Or
No,
whatever?
they weren't doing anything like that. They were just doing some one of the kids. There's three kids. They're clearly technology enabled, smart enough to there's no hurting me screwing with my neighbor, right? And we're sending junk sounds across. I think what they were confused originally when I turned them on is they were trying to connect to their Sonos in their home, and one of the kids was playing with him and discovered these Jembra JBL wireless speakers, and we're screwing around with them directly. And that's kind of a crappy thing for them to do that. But I mean, if you're living in your own house, you're well out of the Bluetooth range for someone to screw with you. But in this case, even though they're pretty on the farther end of the house away from them, if you're in your bedroom and you're a kid, you can get close enough to inside of 45 feet, or enough signal if you have a device that's, extends the range that gets close enough to it. So I got the Google Max. That was the whole rant. That was the whole rant.
Is it any good?
Max. It is good. It's a really nice quality speaker, and you can tweak and tune it. I wish so it gives you really basically we call V-shaped EQ, which is bass and treble. Right, it gives you sort of the basic EQ. You can tweak those things so you can kind of open your V EQ a little bit, but it doesn't really give you a real equalizer. Be able to control the frequencies, because I think if I had that, I'd be able to tweak and dial it in to exactly kind of the level of quality I'm looking for. It is loud. I've not turned it all the way up because I'm being considerate to my neighbors, despite having little scenario problems like that where they're not being considerate to us.
Monsters.
Yeah, well, it's just kids are kids. I don't excuse the behavior, but I can at least explain why. So with that whole triage of conversation, it's a very good speaker. The only problem that I had is I'm doing something that is not expected of the scenario of these smart speakers, which is I am plumbing the Echo Dot through into the aux of the Google Max. And the Google Max also on the end of it has a USB-C. I don't know if it's meant for input or what, if it's bidirectional, but I got a cable from micro to USB-C, and so I'm literally powering the Echo from the power of the Google Max, so I can reduce some more cables being threaded on the table there. So it's all powered through. It's pretty small cable. Everything is connected. It's perfect. So as long as the speaker is powered, the Echo Dot is powered, and it's good to go. And also, I apologize for anyone who's listening to this out loud on the speaker, and every time I say a wake word, it's throwing your systems off. I apologize. So anyhow, I'll just call it the Dot, whatever. So point being is I have all that thing connected, but normally you don't with these smart speakers expect to run aux through it all the time 24/7, and so the Max is not It's not, the engineers or whoever, software or hardware, just didn't consider this too much. So what ends up happening, if I Google Cast to the speaker directly, if I ask it to play music from Spotify directly, it goes into my internal speaker smart mode, and it cuts off aux, because why would it need it? Because it's only outputting directly from one direction. And so the problem had been there had been no way to switch in software or by voice the speaker over back to aux. And so what I would have to do is I had to physically walk up to it, pull the 3.5 millimeter cable out, put it back in here, make the little noise, and then I was good to go. So I noticed this week I just randomly asked the speaker I said the wake command, and I said switch to aux, and it said okay, and then it I did some testing with it and it switched off, and so I could put it back to the Echo and cast to it directly and do things with it directly and switch it back. And apparently this had been a problem since they released it, and so I guess they made a software update. But there's a little caveat to it. So there's a piece of software I have on my phone, my Android phone, that has casting support in it. So I can cast support directly to it, and I played music. And when I disconnected, and then I told the speaker to switch to aux, it all worked. When I was playing music in the thing, and I decided to exit the application and not terminate the Google Cast connection, the speaker was left hanging. And it was still fine and operating as a speaker, but I had to physically go up and swap out, pull out and put in the aux cable. No. It would do the command, but it actually didn't do anything. So I think in those cases, if you have one of these smart speakers, just make sure that you cleanly terminate your casting connection.
Which is kind of weird that you have to do that, but
Yeah, I understand. And I think it was just not like, you're designing this thing for your use case, which is everyone has a smart speaker. They're going to talk to it, and they're going to directly communicate with it, or over Bluetooth, right? They're going to cast or wirelessly transmit to it. No one is ever thinking, oh, I'm going to use these as my stereo speakers in my house, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm doing the very thing they probably would want me to do, which is I'm connecting the dot through the Macs and have them blend in together.
Yeah, I was wondering maybe you should just get some cheap speakers and just plug them in.
No, I mean, it sounds really good, and that's one of the things I want to be able to cast audio to it. A long time ago, I bought the Chromecast audio, and I have one of those sitting around, and I never used it because even when I casted directly to it, I needed to have always-on speakers, and the always-on speakers that were attached anywhere were not. They would just suck up power just to be on. They sounded good, but they just kind of sucked up power. So I wanted something that was a smart speaker without getting a whole Sonos system, which would cost thousands of dollars.
Do you remember the Nexus Q? It was a Google thing that they,
the thing that you have.
Yeah, I had. I gave it away.
Oh, you gave it away. It was pretty neat. That was the thing you got from I.O.
Pretty good.
That they bailed on very quickly.
Yeah, basically it's just the precursor to everything that I have now.
Right.
It's just that they built it really. I think they manually built all the first ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it was a neat looking device.
Yeah, but they released it so early. Way too early, actually.
Yeah, I mean, at least they were showing their hand before all the Amazon stuff. And so now you can get a Sonos speaker with Alexa built in. But, if you want some Google blended in there too, then you got to get some expensive speakers there too. So at the very least, the Maxes, a pair of them can be grouped together. Yeah, I mean, there was nothing more to be said about it. You could group them together. I know the Chromecast audios, you can group, I think, more than two of them together. So if you connect them up to an always-on kind of speaker, you could connect those guys up together for 4 or 5 of them. I think more than 2. Pretty sure more than 2. Where the Maxes are designed to work up to groups of 2. So if you turn them vertically, they'll go mono speaker, left, right, and then you create a music group in Google Home,
Okay.
and you do all that stuff. But I started with buying one, and I'm not worried about buying two right now. I'm buying a second one at the moment. They're $400 a pop.
Yeah, it's a little bit expensive.
One was good. I don't need it in my bedroom. I don't spend a lot of time up in my bedroom other than sleeping. You know what I mean? So I don't really like chill and on a Saturday and listen to music in my bedroom. I just don't do that. And the only kind of prime spot for me right now is just downstairs. So it's good. When I get home, I can employ or connect to the Google stuff. I could Bluetooth directly to the speaker, or if I'm in my house, there's no reason to do that. I can just Google Cast directly to it. So, yeah. So it's now a near perfect speaker. The only one little case scenario. So, is the only kind of working
now
problem.
Let's hope that your neighbor kids don't get into your network.
Well, they
messing
can't.
with things.
No, and I actually turned the Bluetooth off on the Google speaker. I think the advantage is on the speakers, I can go into the software and I can just disconnect the Bluetooth. But it keeps somebody from coming around and screwing around. The whole starting point of this was I noticed there was a bunch of cables ripped out one day when I was walking past it, and I was wondering why the dot was not responding to me. I saw its lights going, but it was not saying anything. And I was like, what's going on? And then I looked, and I saw a bunch of cables ripped out from the speakers. I think what it turned out was my roommate had basically passed out or fell asleep on the couch late at night, and someone came along to screw with the speaker, and he heard a lot of loud noises coming out of it, so he yanked the cords out because he didn't know how to like dial the knob off, which isn't like a little twisty knob. It's like this big centric, circle at the top of one of the speakers that has a little divot in there for you to kind of turn.
Okay.
So, he just yanked out power speakers and whatever he could so he make the noise stop. So I was like, all right, now is the time to go buy a Max and, give this a try. So anyhow, 15 minutes of that. Alan, shut up.
I'll cut that down.
Yeah. So John, how have things been otherwise?
I've been getting a lot of phone calls.
Oh, scammer calls.
Yep. There's so many scammer calls.
There's software for that.
I understand that. My phone actually indicates that it's scammers now, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Samsung does that.
Even the Google default stuff does it too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have an Android app called Mr. Number. They're all even like the call blocker. Most of them are kind of spammy on their own. They all want you to pay some service to subscribe and whatever. Mr. Number is a combination of community driven and stuff like that.
But the thing is, they're using new VoIP numbers here in the Netherlands, right. So it's yeah. I mean, when you look up the number, you see that they've only started using it today.
Oh,
so I'm one of the first ones in the list, probably.
Yeah.
Probably because my name starts with a B. But the thing is that not just me getting the calls, my mother too.
Yeah.
My parents. They get Microsoft calls. Yeah. We found a virus on your computer. Huh?
Right. Yeah. My mother got this is a couple years ago.
Literally, my mom said, "Fork off."
Oh, at least your mother was smart enough to handle that. My mother was not. Right. Yeah. She gets this. My mother's not very technically savvy. And so as a direct result of that, she also feels guilt of like consuming, like this is her guilt. I haven't yelled at her for it. She's just her own sort of, created this out of nowhere inside her body. You know what I mean? It's not being influenced externally by me. Where she feels like, I don't want to waste your time, so I will pay for somebody to, do my support thing. Sure, I will subscribe to a monthly support service, right? And she got scammed by the Microsoft Windows mainframe. Oh no, they didn't even use Microsoft. They called it the Windows mainframe. Called her up and said that she had a virus, right? And so her defense to me was, "Well, I didn't really want to bother you with this."
Just give me a fucking call.
Yeah, which turned into me literally pulling off all the stuff, some actually positively good things to have there that were licensed software being installed or stuff, but which I got rid of. I got rid of all the things, and then I re-updated her, like free virus scan and tools and stuff like that. And I took off Team City and all the remote networking capability things they put on there.
Yeah.
And so they impressed her.
Wouldn't every install been better?
Hmm?
Wouldn't every install have been better?
No, I went through the registry. I went through because I didn't have a CD for my mother, and it was whatever computer that she had that was like Windows 7 from like 10 years ago, kind of thing. And I certainly didn't have a OEM. Setting her back to default means I backed up all her pictures and stuff, anyways. But that's an enormous effort on its own. So the long and the short of it is that I got rid of all that stuff. But what they did is they told her to leave it up, and you can turn your monitor off. And what they did in Windows 7 is they brought up the task manager and they put it on performance mode where it's got the little graphing. And my mother had never seen this, so she was impressed by it. And the lady were remotely connected, and she was impressed by that too. And so they were basically, and so it took it off, and I said, first thing you need to do is call up your credit card company, get yourself a new card. I don't care what your discomfort is with that. And then also go tell them that to deny this authorized purchase for these reasons. And then days later, they called up and saying, hey, there's some problems here. We couldn't bill this. We can't access your computer anymore. What happened? And I told her, I gave her very specific instructions what to say, which didn't involve cursing, to tell the scammers. And she said, my son told me to tell you, and
to shove
I said,
this somewhere.
Do not accept their upsell, Mom. And so that was my long story, the short version.
Yeah. So my mom once, she got called at some point because I registered a domain name and they got the whois information from that, and then they called my house. Yep. She thought at some point, so these people from Microsoft called about a virus and things. I was like, yep, that's a scam. And then ever since then, she's been shouting at them whenever they try to call.
That's good. That's good. My mother doesn't. I just told her, I said, don't fall prey to any of that, Mom. Mm-hmm. You just, if you really think it's a serious thing, call me up.
Yeah, we'll but then there's also other things like, for example, the Mac Keeper type deals, right? People get banners for, oh, you got a virus, and then they click it and then they get a virus.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
So,
or the what's the phrasing for this? Where they intimate you might have a problem, ads or combo of you pay for like Norton or McAfee, and your subscription is running out inside the year, and you might be at risk if it expires, right? That puts the fear in people, and they don't know better.
It's the same thing with like apps. If there's apps with ads in it, right? So my mom has she really likes to watch the weather, so she has like a weather app, and it turns out that the app got ads all of a sudden, and she's like, "You've got a virus," and it says I have a virus on it. Like, no, that's an advertisement. What? And she was genuinely upset with that. So, and people just don't notice that it is that. And my mom is not stupid about this stuff. But she's not technical. That's the only thing. Right? She didn't expect there to be an ad there.
My parents are not dumb people.
No.
But they don't, it's just not their generation of things to care. It's not that they couldn't have the capacity to understand these things. They just don't care. Right? You mean, that's a newfangled thing. I don't care about the newfangled things. I don't care. I got my son. I got my, my stepson, or I got my, my daughter's husband to solve these problems. I don't need to pay any attention to what I do, right? And so there's a lot of that going on in
Cut
family
to
and
5,000
friends.
viruses.
Right, yeah. A hot bar. Well, I like to have my browser have cats at the top of it. Oh my God, stop doing that. You know what I mean? And this is where the malware crap comes from, right?
Yeah.
So if I worked for the NSA, my mother would be the weak point, right, in my security.
Just
Like
don't talk to them anymore.
there'd have to be a security group of just focused on my mother, just to keep her from being the exploit into my life, right? And she, but, of course, if I worked for the NSA, my mother would never absolutely have to ever be she couldn't know, would never roll her into the security, right? She just would be the break in the firewall.
Yeah.
So, I can't live that kind of life because I know my mother would be the security problem. So,
Well, it's not like the U.S. actually needs anything right now because you already got a major leak in there somewhere.
we got lots of leaks if you're talking about a political system.
Yep.
Yep. So, it is what it is. But here's the thing. Here's the abstraction I've made and understanding, given somebody who's got to look at analysis of data all the time and program for it. And, you probably have the same problem where you kind of see patterns and you understand, I get the connections. These are the connections. Every time I hear a reply all thing and they're talking about something, I go, yeah, you guys hit the good core of but you forgot these 8 little vectors here that have to do of how they know your BitTorrenting, right?
No, that's the latest episode, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's more going on. The cable company reads logging data that is on their brand required router. Right, they're reading stuff out of the MTU. Like they're logging stuff there too. It's being cached. They're uploading every night. Like they not only know what's happening, they're also got it reconfirmed by way of the router. Right, not just like account level things. Right, there's way more connection going on there than you don't realize. So anyhow, without getting into a tangent there's also those other things that you can see by example. So here, at least in the U.S., and it sounds like you guys are getting it too, there's a lot of scammy companies that are the companies that have all the data, government, federal data, census data, all the sales data from all the banks, all the credit card companies, all those. And what they do is they off on the side, they not only sell customer names, right? But then what they start to do is they mash up customer names to bolster up their client base data. Oh, I got 7 trillion names in our system, right? That kind of thing. So what they'll do is they'll take your mother's name and your first name and then slam them together as a person and put it on your address and her address. And so they can double or triple up the name combos. If you got stocks with a family member or whoever, then they mash up the first names there, or they mash up the last names if they're like first names. And then they just sort of remix everything and then they bolster it up, right? And so then the spammers, whether it comes from password hacks or whatever, they take that plus other stuff, and then someone remixes all that junk together and comes up with more names and then email addresses, and then boom, and now they have 7 trillion names and addresses for people that don't even exist on the planet, but that's what they sell, and they can sell and make more money off that. Or would they take half of this and then they shuffle them around and they resell those things. So at that point, they have marketing data, and then what they can do is they can say, these people are 70 years old, or they're this demographic, and these people are this demographic, and these people are this demographic. And so if you're in the 40 to 50 or the 50 to 60 age, they're going to scam you with the Windows mainframe company, right? If you are in the 30 to 40 age, they're probably going to assume you're going to get laid off, so they're going to scam you with healthcare stuff, right? And so you're in the 25 to 35 age and employed, and they know generally the kind of money you make because of your taxes, then they'll scam you differently based on that. And so the scamming companies and or individuals in that places are clever. and they with their Access databases or Excel spreadsheets go sort around and query all these things left and right and come up with a list of names that they war dial.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, the thing that they've been doing to me, at least that's as far as I can figure out, they've been using domain names. I have quite a lot of domain names, but whenever specific type of domain names like .info or .net domains get renewed, I always get a call on the same day.
Yep.
I can just say that happened. And they're using the WHOIS information, and soon in the Netherlands, at least, or at least in Europe, it's going to be illegal for the WHOIS records to be open. So that's going to be fun.
I mean, my name is in all the places. Certainly, historically, over the years,
you're going to benefit from this too, because your registrar is in the Netherlands, is in France, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to benefit from this.
Well, but they also have a U.S. facet. They had to create a U.S. Version of the company to be able to have access to certain laws and regulations based on that. So they actually have an office somewhere, in the U.S. As well as of a few years ago.
Yeah, but I think they use the most stringent regulation for this. So it's called GDPR, which is a regulation called the General Data Protection Regulation. Yeah. And it will go into effect in May 25th. And it will no longer allow people to just do that kind of stuff, because that stuff is going to be no longer public, because you're not allowed to put customer data out there like that. Which is, I understand why WHOIS is there. There's also why would it be public for everybody? Because it's just waiting. It's waiting to be abused.
It's the same thing with anything, right? So it was there for legitimate reasons back in the 90s into the 2000s and then beyond. And then, someone like GoDaddy took advantage of it as, well, we'll service protect you through a proxy, right? Which is his own problem of a company that formed to take advantage of all these things, right? And then there are people who basically kind of somehow come online, the registrars who are not registrars, who end up who are part of the DNS domain name scammers, right? There's plenty of those guys, and so there's a lot of that going on. And then they have insight too, because they have a direct copy of, right? And then they sell that information to all the people who do these marketing profile customer name scams. Right? And then they cross-sect your name into a thing and then your address, and they go, oh, well, you're connected like here. And then that's how they know to spam you for the medicine you take and the domains you own.
Well, right? And then there's leaks from like Experian and stuff that link everything together. Right?
Oh, yeah. And then they resell stuff when they should not be, but they resell customer names all the time.
Yeah.
And then there's the hacks that further exploit those things. So the company that I employ today for my DNS stuff, they're by default, they were like, no. So you have an administrative handle, and the administrative handle we have on record, right? And so we can qualify on behalf of blah, 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 that you are who they don't just publicly put your name out there. However,
from what I know, because I kind of live in that kind of
your business.
It's kind of the business I work in. So I'll give you some background on this. So last year there was an issue where I know I was a little bit upset with some of the registries, and they complained, hey, you're hiding the WHOIS information. It's supposed to be public. That's in the rules. Please make them public again, or tell us why you're doing this, and then we'll still annoy you about it. So right. The Data Protection Agency in the Netherlands said, no. You're supposed to protect that information, right? So for the FRL registry and the .amsterdam registry, they said, you're not supposed to do that. It's not allowed. So then they came back at some point. I think that now they're figuring out some sort of system where you have to be certified to be able to access the information. So I think it's going in the right direction. I still don't know the exact details, but I think there's another meeting somewhere this week or next week at ICANN. They're in South America right now, I think. They do a quarterly meeting every 3 months or every 4 months. Somewhere in the world. They pick a different continent every time, and then they have a meeting about that kind of stuff. And I think that they're going to do something because they're going to have to figure this out before the 25th, and I don't think they're going to make it because all the registries need to implement this, right? Because if they want to do business with people in Europe, you're going to have to, have this fixed. So that's going to be an interesting issue. But if you want to look up on this, figure out what if this is going to impact you, go to Google for GDPR, and then you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some of my domains. The other thing is if you have any historical evidence, even if it changes and I get protected all of a sudden now, my information is still out there from years before.
There's websites that keep track of this type of stuff. It's like, okay, you're not supposed to do that. You're not allowed to.
Yeah, but they're still gonna sell that, through the back door anyways, or provide service feeds to people to be able to take advantage of it. I mean, I'm looking at one right now that I have. It's got my info. It's got my home number in it. However, the home number I never answer. I just go in the voicemail box and clear it out. So
most of the privacy services are going to be free soon, right? Yeah. Most of them are, and I know that some of them that are right now. So you could probably get some more protection. Also, try not to put stuff in there that's not supposed to be there.
Right. The other thing about it is there's a lot of public information. So if you were to pay somebody not a lot of money in a fleet of those people, whether it's here in the U.S. or in India or in China or in wherever part of the world, in Africa, wherever you as a business person think you could take advantage of a place where there is need for work and and wage for you might be high for them, but very low for you, that kind of scenario. They'll pay a ton of people. They'll teach them and train them how to go through and query ICANN and whatever and find all this information, all the public information, whatever they can find in your state about a person, and they'll pay them, $10 an hour, which to you or me is not enough, but to them is like an amazing amount of money to somebody else. And then they'll get them to Excel spreadsheet it into a, or Access database it, or they'll build an app to put it into a database, and they'll manually build these systems by paying people who are like data entry extractors. So this stuff happens, and it's getting harder and harder to protect your identity, which really is a larger conversation about identity. But where everyone gets hit up is exactly the same kind of problem we were talking about with like our parents, right? Which is people are getting profiled. And there's a lot of very easy, simple things you can do. If you on your Android phone, I don't know about Gmail on a Mac device, but I can tell you on an Android device, when you get something in Gmail and it shows you the email address, right? And there's a little thing that says view details, typically around where the date is at the top of it, and then it will show you the more direct information about who it's from, who it's replied to, right, and who it was sent to. So if it was not sent to you, that's an indicator, right? And more importantly, read the whole thing, even if it wraps around. Because I had a friend of mine yesterday say, Alan, I think this might, please check this out, because they seem to know that I take a certain medicine, and they're telling me something about my medicine and something about a class action suit with the power company in the state, and two disconnected ideas slapped in there. And then it looked like they copied and pasted a class action shoot something, and then they, and I said, okay, I will show you here. So first thing is I hit view details, and I looked at it. I said, okay, QGEMAIL.com is not Gmail.
Yeah, but
even it's not
like
even cool Gmail. It's just not. First thing, Gmail is GMAIL.com, which, and saying that out loud took him a couple minutes to, oh. I said, you can see it right there at the very end. And what they'll also do is they'll put at gmail.com, and then they'll plug way down the line a bunch of junk, and then they boom. And it says, then if you're supposed to reply to a thing, why are you replying to a completely different email address? And then, and I went down this line and looked at it and I said, okay, now let's take a look at this class action shoot where they tacked your name in. So you can see that the class action shoot has one font, but they found a like font, but they're not the same font. And one is bold and one's not bold. So you can just see right here, they're scamming you. And they go, well, how do they know I take this medicine? I said, it's real easy. You're of an age demographic that likely has heart problems. And he goes, oh. I said, this is how they get you, right?
Yep. Well,
and this doesn't get into a deeper conversation about Facebook's listening to me. They're not listening to you. You were just on Amazon, who has a little ad, and then the scammers do the same kind of thing. And then you go out to their site, and then you get 90% of the way to checkout, and then you bail. But they have all that tracking information, so they go and they sell that information to another ad company.
Well, and there's shops that get that information too, right?
Yeah, right. And now the heart medicine company is hitting you up with a scam. Right, I mean, this is how these things are interconnected.
Well, and lots of the actual mail scams that they send out, they're more artificial intelligence powered. Even they're just using the same techniques that Google is using. Well, not exactly the same, of course, but they're targeting you the same way because they're hooking up all sorts of databases together, and at some point we're just going to be turned into gray goo.
Yeah. and the last a bit of this is we were talking about the domain register stuff, right?
Yeah.
So every time I come up for a renewal, I will get every once in a while, because they clearly got smart that I'm smart about this. I get a letter in the mail that says Domain Register of America or some version of that. And there's multiple ones that come. They literally send out a letter, and they say, we can exit services, right, for less. We will let you renew it for less this time, blah, 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 blah.
$5,000.
Right, and it's not coming from my domain company. It is coming from one of these scammers who are like, right, so if you sign up with us, then we'll send you another letter or give you a call and show you how to transfer your domain to us. And oh, by the way, you give us your credit card, right?
We'll charge you for 5,000 euros,
right.
dollars.
And so in a legitimate cycle, they're sort of tricking you and then spamming you at the same time. Yeah. And so, look, Google, Microsoft, Apple don't give 2 cents about you. They will never ask you for your password. They will never ask you for credit card information. PayPal will never ask you for credit card, or they'll never contact you directly. They will send you a public notification saying there might be a problem with your credit card, and then don't click the links in the email. Go to PayPal. Go to Apple. Go to Google. Go to whoever, your cable company. Go to their website directly and find the thing that they're talking about and sign into their website. Look at your account, look at whatever, and see if it's legitimately the problem. Never click on a link inside an email to a thing, because if you don't hover on that too, it's got also this, it looks like it's legitimate, it starts out with, but then it's got gobbledygook to it somewhere else you don't expect, like China or Russia, right? In that link. So
also they don't run lotteries for billions of dollars. They don't do that.
No prince
lottery.
is gonna know you unless you met them, and then even then don't go into their scam. Just don't.
I
Don't
think
do
this
any
is a
of that.
very long topic. We can go on and on about
Yeah.
this, but
Yeah, but
I've just recently been getting so many calls, and it's been fun shouting at them though.
I get them to the home line. The IRS is contacting you because the local cop he has a warrant for your arrest. They cultivate like reasons for you to call them back. Don't.
There was
right?
there was
Just
a
don't.
fun one recently on Twitter. They had a video of the recording. There's a warrant for your arrest because the power is going to be shut off and stuff like that. And then you're calling a sheriff's office, right? Click.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I have a work phone they gave me, which no one calls me on. They call anything. They call my personal phone. But it was clear that the person before me that had that number, not the phone, because it was a brand new random out of the pool number available that was given with the phone. And I think the spamming has slowed down, but I still get calls to the thing all the time, which are like healthcare or something. So it gave me, based on how this person was being spammed, it gave me a clear indicator of how old and roughly, what her name was, and the whole profile about her, because that is how she is getting spammed, or how she was getting spammed. So either she treated her phone like dirt, or she died, or she got a second number to be the landfill for this junk. And now it's coming to my work phone that's sitting in the pocket all day, or in my jacket.
Bleep bleep.
To a phone
bleep, bleep.
that's charged but never turned on, because all it is like, you missed 900 missed calls, right?
Okay.
And
so one more thing before you continue on to the fun stuff. If you have a domain name and you are with a registrar that doesn't support privacy protection stuff, you might want to. You get calls or you get lots of spam for that. Go to your registry and tell them to lock down your Whois records. That will help a lot. It does help for me. So yeah, and I have lots of domain names.
if you have a good service, domain register, hoster. If you have a good service, they usually offer to lock it for no cost.
Yeah, or really cheap.
No cost. It does not cost you $30 a year to have your proxy domain. Nope. No cost. If they are a good, honorable, legit domain
there's
host.
registries that are doing this for persons now. So
right.
If you are a person, then his data is automatically protected. There's no cost in this. They just lock it down straight away.
Yep. And also lock your domains from transfer and things like that. We talked about, we had a topic on DNS stuff, before.
Yeah.
Soon
we'll talk about SSL and about certificates and stuff like that.
You mean TLS?
Whatever, man. It's still an SSL certificate.
Yeah,
TLS is only the way that you get to the secure connection.
Yeah. But anyhow, okay, so I talked this to nullify the whole conversation, right? So we have other things to talk about, though, right?
Yeah, fun stuff. So, Alan, you've got crabs?
I did. It came in the mail, and the game, that is.
Sure. Now you've got giant crab hands.
It was like I said earlier. It was ironic that this was the conversation we were having. I go, yeah, I ordered it Wednesday, and then it showed up, like, on my door that Saturday, and I opened it up, and there was crabs after we had recorded. And so
we were going to record.
Quickly.
We were going to record, but that's when the disaster in my hallway happened.
Yeah.
So
I got the game. The problem is you got to play with other people.
Yeah. Four, and at least four, right?
Yeah, you need to play with at least 2 pairs. So that means at least 4 people. And I don't know what the limit is. I did at one moment, but regardless, you got to pay You got to play with other people. It's a thing you do with friends, right? And so hopefully people you like and who are in a good mood to have fun.
Okay, so that's Polymatic.link/FQ for You've Got Crabs.
Yeah, if you want to find out how and what and why.
How to get crabs.
I'm pretty sure I know of Captain Disillusion because of you, John.
Yeah.
And it shows up in my, it shows in my Google algorithm, whatever, for when I go into YouTube. And as a result, I, have subscribed to this guy. But he did something literally like a day or two ago. And I'm calling it Captain Disimpressions instead of Disillusion. He did pretty good impressions. It's like he got into my subscription box and looked at some of the educational based YouTubers I'm subscribed to, and then he did awesome impressions of them.
Yep.
It's if you know most of or all the people that he did impressions of, it's pretty brilliant. His impressions are pretty spot on. When he did, was it Bill Ward's, whatever? When he did that, I was like, that's pretty spot on.
And Destin from Smart Every Day.
Yeah, and Destin, it was all. Even if the voice is not like precise, he got the behaviors really well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty good.
That's Polymatic.link/GA for that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I have a rubber band gun with clips. You can just replace the clips instead of having to restring the rubber bands at the top. It's a very cool looking thing. It's made out of wood. Polymatic.link/G4 for that. Really cool. I just want to build one. Make a 3D printable version of it.
Then you can I don't know. I was gonna say you're gonna shoot your hamsters with a rubber band, or at least their cage.
Man. No.
I didn't mean the hamster. I meant like at the cage.
You're
that
evil.
kind of thing.
You're evil.
Well, if they're making hamster wheel noises, it's rubber band at the cage. So I came across this again also recently. So Linus Tech Tips, they have another thing called Tech Quickie, another channel. And they had a pretty good one where they were talking about Intel chips and how to kind of decode why the chips are named a certain way. And it was pretty good video. And that's Polymatic.link/GB, what the difference between an HQ and HK or a P or U or whatever. And that does explain some of the CPU model numbers that I've gotten in the past that have been Intel. And
alphabet soup.
It's actually pretty neat. I'm not expecting anyone to remember that, but it's a good one to bookmark. So the next time you're looking for a new fancy laptop or processor or something on your computer, and you're curious what you're actually getting, despite whatever the marketing is from said company. If
Look,
you know
it has all the K's.
Right. So you can kind of see what that actually means to you. So, what you should be getting.
So for the rubber band gun, that was Polymatic.link/G4.
Mm-hmm. And that was GB, the one I was just talking about.
Okay, I saw this. I think this was on Reddit that I saw this, but Polymatic.link/G7, and I shared this with you, and then all of a sudden it also got trending. So it was fun that it was being shared around. Only slightly exaggerated. It's about the Oregon tourism board thingy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's like an animation, like they only slightly exaggerated their state. Polymatic.link/G7 for that.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, and I shared it with the OG group, and they were like, "Oh, that's pretty good. Where's that from?" And then they're asking me about it. It's like, I don't know. John sent me a link, so I shared it with them, I guess, before it started trending. It's pretty neat. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Okay, so The 100 is the sci-fi TV show on a network here, a TV network in the U.S., which is known for putting 20-year-olds or early 30-year-olds that look like teenagers when they're all glammed up, basically acting as teenagers for like not reality TV shows, but like teen dramatic shows, whatever.
Yeah.
What was it? Riverdale is one of them, even including The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl. You know what I mean? Like those actors that you're looking at are not as young as you believe they are, that kind of thing. So they have a formula. But with that said, they will plug a story brand into it, and then they'll make something out of it. So in this case, there was a thing called the 100, which was started out in its first season to be, at least in the first several episodes, to be an intriguing sci-fi idea. And then they flipped it to be like a teenage drama thing. And then every season they keep twisting it, making it a little darker and a little bit, some parts of it are really intriguing and a lot of it is, fluff and junk.
Yeah.
But with that said, it's dramatic fluff and junk. It's not like light and happy. And so I've already invested in it. So like starting out of the first season, it's just really eye candy and, unnecessarily stupid drama. And so anyhow, they're into season 5, and through season 4, they started flipping into some more sci-fi aspects of things. And then there was a season ender, and it's been a while now. Season 5 is coming out, and so this is the trailer. Polymatic.link/GC.
Garbage collector. It's appropriate.
Yes. Yeah, very, very appropriate. So it's coming out real soon. I don't know about the rest of the world, but definitely in the U.S. And that was Polymatic.link/GC. So my defense of it is a very imperfect, crappy show, but it's got some good, really neat sci-fi tendons in it. And I just want to express that I'll be watching it.
There's no excuse.
There is no excuse. But if you're far into it, it's coming out.
Anyway, Song in the Sky. It's an animation. Somebody made a pilot for an animation show thingy that they worked on for a long time.
Yeah.
Polymatic.link/G5. Now, the animation is not great. It's passable. It's got some nice concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if they get some more budget, I think this is one guy with some people doing this. The voices.
The animation is good and at the same time, for when it comes to people, not always fluid. So it's got flaws, but it does have a lot of good things about it that have a lot of good potential.
Yeah, it's got some good concepts.
If you want an anime that's anywhere near like this, there's been a bunch of them, but I will say one of them has been Last Exile. If you go back to the original one, that's the one I really liked. I don't think I barely watched the second iteration of that. Or the pilot's love song. Here's another iteration that doesn't end well, but that's another one that kind of falls along these kind of lines that I think I would give a general more positive than negative recommendation to watch them.
Yeah.
Certainly the first season of Last Exile, though it gets in a distorted end that it, kind of I didn't like, but that's not the point. There's a lot of it that's really great. And I think that's, some of those would be pretty good to watch. However, though, I'd be curious to see where this goes. And if the animation gets better. Certainly this would be good for maybe an American audience who don't watch anime.
Polymatic.link/G5 for that.
Yeah, it's worth watching. It's, several good 10 minutes or more?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so I misspelled that. That's fine. It's not what I put in our notes. The Most Elusive Man of the World. This was sort of a short film, and it was enough to catch my attention and keep it, but it was pretty good. And it's about a guy who lives completely off grid, but attends and participates in marathons and completes them.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ruin anything more than that. Most Elusive Man, Polymatic.link/GD.
Mr. Boom is up to no good again. Mr. Electro Boom has been doing...
Hey, that's a good Polymatic. Did you customize that?
No, I didn't. It's Polymatic.link/FU.
They're so good. The perfect match.
We've got a couple of them today, right? I think GC, FU.
Yeah. All
Anyway,
right, so
he's been playing with. He did a good one yesterday. I didn't have time to link. So he did the beginning of the Electron, something like that. So he did an entire video. He animated everything. He did some sort of starting of the universe type stuff. It's like really, really well done. This guy has been up to no good. But he recently did a video, which is this one, Polymatic.media/FU, where he goes and explains how induction stuff works. So he tries to power some stuff from an induction plate, like a cooking plate, right?
yeah. Which
explodes.
I understood how they worked, but I didn't really ever think much about it. So it actually watching that video just gave me more insight of things I kind of never felt the need to think more.
It's
than
also the
2
reason you
seconds
don't want to
about.
put your phone on that plate.
Oh no. But anytime you see someone with a like a tiny house or a efficiency where they have they literally live in a room in Japan, like less than 300 square foot room, they usually have induction coil plates, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the stuff that he's talking about and showing us more insight on. And that was polymatic.link/FU.
Okay, Alan, you're next.
Yeah, I know. So I found this through another person's sort of comical suggestion. This YouTuber, she has a tendency to take music lyrics from a song that everyone will know and Google translate it a bazillion times, and then she'll do a parody cover of it. So I'm calling this Google Translate Covers, polymatic.link/GE. This one I think was a Taylor Swift song, a more recent one. It's is the video the most greatest thing ever, but I mean maybe not. But the Google Translate of the lyrics is pretty absurd. Yeah. It reminds me of a reference to news radio where they had this running joke in the TV show where the boss was sort of like a Trump-like character, where he had a book that failed in the U.S. but then was translated into another country, and then it was popular, or it failed there too, but then it was translated into another country, and then it got popular, and then it was translated into another country, and it made its way back around the world into eventually Japan, where it was a hit, and then got translated back into the US, and where it was a hit, and it was something like karate, Mario Karate Card Monkey Super Dog or something like that. So it's a real funny running joke, and this is like real world examples of this.
Okay, so Polymatic.link/GE for that.
GE, yeah.
So, are you looking forward to Expanse Season 3?
Yeah, when it comes out.
Polymatic.link/FV for the trailer. It's going to come out in April 11th.
I know one person on the OG podcast that I'm going to show him The Expanse because he had never heard of it. So,
does he read books?
Yes, he probably will see a little of it. Then, within not seeing it inside the next week, knowing him, he'll go find the books.
Yeah, get the books.
Yeah.
So much more content there.
So that was polymatic.link/FV as in Victor. Okay, so a movie that I liked that failed here in the U.S., but I really did enjoy in the theater, was Fantastic Beasts. And the second iteration of it, The Crimes of Grindelwald, is coming out. And polymatic.link/GF for the trailer.
Next one is Wintergarten built a Marble Machine X. They're building a new Marble Machine. I think you probably have seen this. They built a machine where they metal marbles go through it and then makes music. So Polymatic.link/FW, he's working on a new machine.
Yeah, the Wintergarten makes these music machines by use of gravity and various things.
That's one thing they do, but it's a group of people that make weird music.
Right. They're like artisans who also make music. And every once in a while, they make these extraordinary machines and make a video of it that play a song. And that's Winter Garden. And that was Polymatic.link/FW.
Yes.
The W for Winter Garden. All right. I guess I'm the last one here. A video about not making a video. I'm sure everyone has heard of Jake Roper, Vsauce 3. One of the Vsauces, and he does a very good job of explaining the general process behind the scenes. This is for podcasts, probably like Reply All and stuff like that. They go through a lot of iterations to create a product, which is why they're not always consistently putting out stuff, or they got to have multiple teams of people working on things to produce a video, or even a good, really extraordinary, well, insightful, well and accurate podcast, right? It takes a lot of energy aside from the recording and then the mastering and just editing the thing together. Where most YouTubers just like turn on a camera and show you about their fancy life and their fancy cameras and their fancy apartment and their fancy traveling, and then boom, boom, boom. And that creative process takes the filming, with however long that takes, and then the editing, which is hours, and then finding the right music and finding the right color grading, and then the rendering for hours, and then uploading, right? And even that stuff could take a day or so, which is why everyone is so like Casey Neistat. Just, you don't realize, you see the 5 minutes or the 8 minutes that he did, but he was basically spending like 16 hours of his day setting up, doing a shot, talking to a while he was at a moment. And then, you're in a bar or something and he's got to stop, and for 20 minutes he does his setup and he does his thing and he took his shot. That was his daily vlogging life. Yeah. And then he would just edit it together in 8 hours.
So Jake Ripper was recently on H3 podcast.
Oh yeah?
You see that one?
I don't listen or watch H3 anything. I know about them, but because of the controversy with the lawsuit and stuff like that, and
go watch the recent episode of their podcast. They have interesting guests on from time to time. They have the Michael from Vsauce. They have Phil DeFranco. They have all sorts of interesting people on there. And they have like really frank conversations about things, and including this guy, and talking about he had cancer and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I heard that DeFranco was like a surprise guest or something with that guy.
Oh, that was recently. Yeah, last week.
Yeah, but I hadn't watched it, so I think it's just one of those things where I would probably be interested in it, and it's one of those like Inside Baseball things, right? There were podcasts because they commented on the Inside Baseball, and the Inside Baseball started to befriend them of the YouTube community. So if you live in California and you're not a problem maker, you're a positive maker, and you live in the community that they're a part of, which is YouTube, and you live in California, then you can be part of the world of H3H3 by way of the podcast and various things. So that's how I know they do interesting guest stuff. So I know it's an entity of somebody I might like. Got to find the time to have time for an hour of a thing,
So the video about not making a video, that was Polymatic.link/GG.
GG. Yeah. Good game. Okay.
Next up, some music.
Yes.
I've got two for the same guy, Nicholas Putchberg. He has two tracks, Dawn and Spark. Polymatic.link/FX, Polymatic.link/G9.
Yeah, I listened to some of this stuff. Yeah, I kind of like it. I'll add it in my list eventually. But yeah, no, it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So I got two links also in a row, but this for the same song. So there's a band. We got to a point where we're sharing enough little music here and there, or artists. I literally last night had to make a list that just my sharing of the list is like 30, 40 entries. So here's a few more. But here's a group that is sort of part of my music bubble, been around for a while, at least for me, called Walk Off the Earth. They do covers, they do their own original music, they tour. And they had this one song, I don't know, probably good 6 or 7 years ago, called Red Hands. And I love the song, but then they made an epic, awesome music video which appeals to the editor, director, knows the inside baseball of film editing and that kind of thing. And it's like a one take thing that they time sequenced in such a right manner. And that's Polymatic.link/GH. This is about the video of the time syncing that I'm talking about. This is all one take. They did all this thing in one take to make this video, and then the raw version of it, Polymatic.link/GI, is showing you what the raw take is, and then if you could figure out how to resync it or speed it up, ramp it up and down to do the whole thing that they did for the final product. But I thought it was kind of interesting. If anyone thinks they know how they did it. There you go. And it's a good song.
Polymatic.link/GI.
Yeah, so GH and GI. Okay.
So I've been a fan of Filter for a very long time. So Polymatic.link/FY for Death Comes For You. It's of his latest album that's been out for about a year. But I really like his music. So just put it on there.
Another one in my long list of things that I'm surprised that I might have shared it when we were like sharing fun stuff. But here's an artist that is, again, in my musical bubble. One of the songs that I heard that I really liked from her called Killing Me. Ophelia K, Polymatic.link/GJ.
So I think we shared this on the first episode we ever recorded.
I feel like, but
yeah, I looked it
I'm
up.
going to highlight her as an actual artist. So I thought that was worth pointing out because I never really highlighted her as an artist. I think her music's a little eclectic, but it's the kind of eclectic that I like. And it's a good mix in with my sort of musical bubble playlist. I will tell you, though, most voice assistants barely will understand when I say her name. Yeah. They don't know what I'm talking about.
So it's Polymatic.link/GJ for that.
Yeah.
Next one is King Princess 1950. Polymatic.link/G3. I saw this on, I think this came by on my YouTube recommended stuff.
Oh, really?
And it's like, showed up and I was like, hey, interesting.
Yeah.
This is something Alan might like. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if King Princess is the singer or if it's the group. No idea. But let's assume it's the singer. Yeah, I did kind of like it, and I put it at least in my Spotify.
But there's like one track.
Is there one track? That's all available. So I'll put in my Spotify, and then whenever I have a chance to listen to Spotify when it's not at work, maybe I'll get to hear more. And that was Polymatic.link/G3.
Yep.
All right, so this is a guy that I was following because of this video.
Weird. It's really
It is weird, but it's the weird that I like about it. And then I got this guy's album, and he, at least at that time, he only basically had one album to get. And also, it's a good another mix in to sort of break up the kind of sound of things that I listen to. And every once in a while, I go, oh, right, that's Rob Cantor. Oh, and I look at my phone, and I go, oh, yeah, I like that song. Right, so his... I don't really know exactly what his background or resonant of what his background is, but you gotta wait till the end.
that ending, I've seen so many gifs of that.
Oh, really? Yeah. So this came out a long time ago, but Rob Cantor, at least one album out there to get. There's some pretty good songs. They're not the usual. They're more like theatric weird, and I do kind of like it, and if he puts out another album or has one, I'll probably get it. But it's Shia LaBeouf, and it's Polymatic.link/GK.
Okay, so we talked about Wintergarten a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So they have their entire live performance on YouTube. So Polymatic.link/G6 for that.
Okay. And then the last one for me, I had already shared A-OK, which I know you didn't like, but the singer for some of those songs I really like is this guy called Quinn92, XCII, and one and the same is this sort of crossover between him and A-OK. So it will link you over to A-OK site, but Quinn, has his own his YouTube site as well. But Polymatic.link/GL. So every time I hear him show up, and even his own songs, I do like. I know it's not a sound that you're going to like because it's not the style of singing I think you're into.
Okay, and then the kind of singing you're not into, but I just put it on there for you.
Like, what the hell, man?
Clowncore. Polymatic.link/G8.
Yeah, and
Just
the
go watch
irony
it.
is
It's so stupid.
the irony is I saw this as earlier in the week, and I'm like, oh, what the WTF? And then I was like, yep, all right, I don't need to see any more of this. And then you linked it up for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think I've shared. So we got some books. Then I think I've shared this book before, or talked about it at least. So there's a book called Lock In by John Scalzi, and it got narrated by two different people. So by Amber Benson from Buffy and other shows, Whedonverse type shows.
Oh yeah.
Polymatic.link/G2, and he also had it narrated by Will Wheaton. So Polymatic.link/G1, and the reason he did that is because it isn't quite clear what gender the main character is.
Oh, okay.
So it's very interesting. So you can get it in like a normal book form, but I think that the audiobook is actually quite good. And he's coming up with a new book called Head On. He also had narrated by the same people. So yay.
Interesting. There was an anime of recent last season reviews. Whoever, I want to say it was Pop Team Epic, and I might be wrong. Where we were wondering why when we were watching it, the episode was double in time when it shouldn't have been, and it was because they did a very similar thing. They did all with a male cast, and then they male voice cast, and then they did with a all female voice cast, which I thought was. We were kind of annoyed by it, but I think maybe that because that this author did that, maybe this is starting to express a trend that's going to happen.
Well,
where the genders are more neutral than not, and
Well, I think because the whole premise is that people are locked into their own body so they can express themselves as like their robot selves, because they have like robots that they can control. And the second book is about the same character doing stuff, investigating a something with a fight system. They have like fights between the robots, like the assisting the robots that the people who are locked in control, and then actually people die. So. Yay. So that's called Head On. So for all these things, lock-in is G1 and G2, Polymatic link. And Head On is G0 and FZ.
Okay, cool.
So I think that's it for this episode.
That's plenty.
Alan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter. It's CHAESS. It's my last name.
You can also find me on Twitter at WebDevy, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Music in this episode is by Seance, which you can find at Polymatic.link/EK. Our Twitter is The Polymatic. The website is Polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time.